Welcome, everybody, to the Entrepreneurial CPA Show. We're here, as always, to take a deep dive in the knowledge you need to break free of the box and become the world-changing entrepreneur we know you want to be. And today we've got one of our special theme shows, back again, Tired of Taxes, brought to you by the NACVA, the National Association of Certified Valuators and Analysts, who for the past 30-plus years have helped thousands of CPAs establish their authority in matters of value and become today's financial super consultants. Because that's what it's about. How do we become relevant in today's landscape, moving past the norms? As the world becomes more complex, how do we still help our clients with the very difficult issues they're faced with? So we got some great guests here today. We got Janae Castell of RABA Value Advisors, and we get T.J. Liles-Tims of BVFF Partners. Great to have you both here. And I'm excited because today we're going to talk about litigation support and the MAFF. It's the Master Analyst in Financial Forensics, which is like a whole mouthful there. So Janae, let's start with you. I'd love to kind of know from you, how did you kind of get started into this forensic litigation support world? You know, did you go to school for accounting, or how did you get into this?
Well, I went to TCU and got a degree in finance, and I minored in accounting and Spanish, actually. I was just shy of getting another minor in German, but I speak a little bit of German at home with my husband. Interesting fact. And then I went to work at a CPA firm here in Tulsa, and I did tax work and I did business valuation work starting a couple months after I joined the firm. And then I kept doing business valuation work, did more and more work, kind of transitioned out of balancing both the tax load and the valuation load and began building that firm's practice for business valuation. Then I left that firm and built a practice at another firm for valuation and litigation support. And then about 3 years ago, I went off and started my own firm. And I do, again here, valuation, litigation consulting. I got my MAFF in 2013 from the NACVA.
And how, it sounds like you've done a lot. You know, you built really 3 different valuation practices. How critical was the NACVA to help you do that? Because a lot of us were out there worried, how do I build my own practice? How do I get my own book of business? Could you have done it on your own?
No, and especially not the litigation consulting piece. You know, I got excellent training from the NACVA. I've done several, I do a lot of CPA or CPE with the NACVA, and that's been always valuable in helping me progress, you know, my capabilities and know what to expect, especially in the courtroom. So the courtroom situation was really, really valuable. And then also for the work I do in valuation, you have to be a qualified appraiser. So I need those letters after my name to be able to practice and submit, you know, reports to IRS. It really makes a difference, again, in court and how the trier of fact, you know, the judge or the jury views you.
What's the biggest thing, kind of looking back, you're kind of surprised on now that you're an expert of value in this area?
I was really surprised actually at how supportive the community was. You know, you'd think that it'd be really competitive, but I found going to NACVA events that the community is really, really supportive, very helpful, interested in answering questions. I work with several other practitioners who will call each other and say, hey, you know, I've got this case, what do I do with it? Or I have brokers that are part of the NACVA, and I call them regularly and say, hey, you know, how would you look at this company? Is there anything I'm missing? Is this range of value sound reasonable? You know, what's a multiple that you would think of? So I've really actually been impressed and blown away with how much camaraderie and how much friendship I've found in the organization as opposed to competition. I mean, we're all competitive. We all want to go and make money and support our families, but there's just an element of congenialness, collaborativeness.
Well, speaking of deep knowledge and being collaborative and congenial, TJ, how about on your side? Because I know you both you're an expert in this area. You also teach this area in practice. What can you tell us about this litigation support and the MAFF from your wealth of knowledge?
So, I mean, what we focus on with the MAFF is trying to provide someone who has experience in litigation, but may not have a plethora of experience. So, meaning that if as part of getting accepted to be able to qualify for the MAFF, you've got to have so many hours of experience. Then you sit through 5 days of courses where we take you through fraud, we take you through bankruptcy, we take you through business valuation, we take you through all the different standards of potential or other fraud certifications. And then you have a test. So one of the things that we generally will tell the candidates is, look, this course and this certification is about a mile wide and about a foot deep. And so our expectation is to be able to teach you about all the different areas of financial fraud. And then you, as the expert, someone who has experience in litigation already, then delve off into, okay, do you want to be a specialist in bankruptcy? Do you want to then specialize in family law, in fraud? And then allow you to then have that foundation to then build into a true expert into a particular field.
That makes sense. I mean, you're kind of going, like you said, mile wide, not quite as deep, but pick your area. So Janae, for you, how did you pick your area in litigation support?
Well, I had already gotten my certification in valuation. So I'm a CVA as well as an MAFF. And, I felt like it would be really valuable to me to know when the information that I'm getting is reliable, when I might need to dig deeper, how to evaluate claims, especially in family law, of dissipating assets and other issues. So I went in really thinking of this to support my existing valuation practice. And, like TJ says, it can support you in so many different areas. If you're looking at bookkeeping, if you're doing the tax work, how does this information really match up with what the client has said, or any issues that we may be having? And do I know whether or not we should pursue digging into this? And if I do pursue looking into this, how do I go about doing that?
So it sounds like super complex area. You got to solve a lot of different problems in a traditional tax return or an audit. So TJ, I'll kick it to you. How do you help teach accountants, CPAs, whatever their background is, to be such diverse problem solvers with we talked about before, such a wide array of information? It's like an audit where you can get these 6 things. It seems incredibly challenging at times.
It's really not challenging. The challenging part is, understanding debits and credits, which all of the people watching this show presumably understand debits and credits. But the difference is what should these debits and credits have looked like had a particular event not occurred? And so it's basically breaking down the concept of debits and credits and looking at it more from this actually occurred, what should have occurred. And so that is, in a very 10,000 foot view, that is essentially what we do in financial litigation, is look at an event that actually occurred and then compare it to what should have occurred. Now, whether that's bankruptcy, whether that is family law, whether that is an embezzlement case, essentially, take for instance, an embezzlement case. We know that, the number, X amount of money is in the bank. Had this embezzlement not occurred, Y amount of money would have been in the bank. That difference is the embezzlement amount. So you can, just using that concept, you can break it down into each of the different areas of financial litigation.
And that sounds like, too, that'd help, accountants out there be a little more comfortable with this. This isn't just like complete chaos, because you come back to the debits and credits, like you said. It's just like doing an audit a lot of times, like, hey, recording fixed assets, sale of fixed assets the client can't get right. Here's what should happen. Here's what did happen. The difference is the journal entry we have to make. Very similar to what you're saying here.
Right. And, and there is much more intricacies into it, but, again, to give people at ease, that is the general sense of what we do, is just looking at the difference.
Interesting. So Janae, how about for you? What's the most interesting part of being involved in litigation support for you versus when you were first doing tax returns when you first started out?
It's always different. So I'm always learning and I love learning new things. So that fit me really well. Yeah, there's never a company that's the same. There's never an issue. The people involved are always different. So that's what I love about it.
What's the most challenging thing then you found as being an expert now going through this building 3 practices? What's the most challenging thing you've had to face?
Maybe feeling prepared to tackle all the issues. There's always more to know. I mean, like I said, that's what I like, is that I can always learn something, but that challenge of that is that there's always more to know. So you can never quite get comfortable.
Okay. TJ, how about for you? What's the most interesting thing that you deal with in the litigation support space? Not your teaching side, but the client service side.
So, the interesting part falls right in line with what Janae said is there's never a dull moment. I mean, you are going to deal with a different client, maybe in the exact same business that in the same industry, but it's a different client, which is going to handle that completely different. And you may have a similar client, but then you have a different business. You may have a same client, same business, but then you have a different purpose, whether that's divorce or embezzlement. So there's always something different in each engagement.
Interesting. That does sound like it will keep it interesting and different, much more than tax returns. So then, TJ, if I'm an accountant, I'm watching this, maybe I've got my CPA and I'm doing taxes or audits right now, and this sounds interesting. How difficult is this to start? Should I feel like, oh my God, this is too much, I can't start? Or is this something I can handle as a CPA to become an expert in the litigation sport and have a more interesting, exciting, rewarding career?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I think it's going to be different for each person who has their CPA, depending on where they are in their practice. If there's someone who is ready to, dive into something different, then this is absolutely an area that could be appealing. I will say the negative side of that is this is an area that you can't really dabble in. I mean, this is, I don't want to say it's an all or nothing, but to become a true expert, you have to basically jump in both feet, because that if you are someone who just dabbles in this area, you can be exposed by an attorney. So I don't want to scare people from that standpoint, but I also want to be real with those viewing the show as well, that this is an area that you can get into, but understand that you're going to have to put the time in.
And it sounds like from both of you and all the other people with the NACVA I've talked to, it's a rewarding area where once you're in, it is something that can be your whole career around it. This isn't like one of those like one-off things where we might do 1 or 2 a year. There's a ton of work in this vast body of space from valuation to litigation support as well.
Well, and I was reading an article, actually a study the other day where a lot of clients are expecting forensic accounting type services from their CPA firms. So offering that different arm is something clients want. My former partner who passed away in January used to always say that someone who does business valuation can do forensic accounting, but a forensic accountant can't do business valuation. And so there are things that viewers can do to expose them to not just one area.
That makes sense. And also what you're reframing back to my career, when I first started in the profession, I worked for a firm and we did the only time we ever did like a forensic audit on a company with 2 owners bickering. I'm guessing per your comments, we didn't probably do the best job. Because that kind of like first time we ever did it, send 2 staff accountants out to look at through like 10 years of records. There was a lot of like, I remember at the time just kind of like figuring out what to do every day. Like every day the partner's like, well, let's do this. And then let's do this. And like, let's do this. And like, there was no like, we do this routinely, like, here's how you do this. step 1 to step 10. Every day was a new challenge.
Right.
All right. So then, Janae, to wrap it up, what's the most important thing you tell someone about how much you enjoy your career today versus if you hadn't got into litigation support?
Oh man, that's a tough question. The most important thing. I don't know. I enjoyed a lot, like I said, and learning things. So the most important thing is to be open to learning and to reaching out and asking others for help and to have others help you to educate yourself. So if that's something that you like, this is a great place. And if you're going to do this, then make sure that you're willing and open to put in the work and learn really thoroughly about this area of practice.
Well, let me ask you a follow-up question then. When you got into this, did you get into it because you wanted to do new things, or is that become a byproduct of you found out you enjoyed that later? You got into this just for other reasons to start with?
I got into this because it was interesting and I saw a need. And I think it's been a product. It just happens to match up with my personality that I am a continual learner, and this is an area where you have to do continual learning.
That's great. And I see a lot of times for everybody watching, a lot of us as accountants feel like, well, I'm an accountant for a reason. And it's because I'm not like any of these people I just saw here today. I do what I do. I'm a great CPA. I'm a great tax accountant. I'm a great auditor. And I like my little box. But a lot of us can do a lot more once we get exposed to it. So really kind of takeaway from this is do something different. Expose yourself to something new. I'm pretty sure you're going to be excited about it. And you're going to find out, like Janae did, you love to learn. You love to solve these problems. And you're so much happier as a result. So as always, thank you both of you for stopping by. Thank you everybody for watching. And if you want to join the thousands of CPAs who specialize in business valuation and you want to transform your career with the MAFF, now's the time to get started. This is a great time with all the change happening in the country. Take this time to learn more about it. There's going to be a link below to go to the NACVA website. Stop being tired of taxes, whether the deadline's April 15th, July 15th this year, October 15th. Break free of the grind, do something different. And I think you'll be pretty excited for the results. So thank you everybody for watching, and I look to see you back here again next time.